Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, if you would kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices, or please place them on silent. Thank you.
We remember Harvey. And join our hearts together now to give comfort to his family. Mourning is a time filled with emotion and filled with memory. We begin our service with the recitation of psalms and prayers as we link now Harvey's life with the millennia-old tradition of the people of Israel and the eternity of God. Birth is a beginning. Death is a destination. Life is a journey, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness and back, we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking back or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, death a destination, and life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. Yesh kochavim she'oram magi arza ra kasher hem atzmam avdu ve'einam. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. The age-old words that we find in the book of Ecclesiastes, V'kol zman ve'et lecho chefetz tachat hashamayim, Eit la'leret ve'eit lamut, eit la'tat ve'eit la'kor batua, eit la'rog ve'eit lifo, eit lifrotz ve'eit livnot. There is a time for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time for destroying and a time for healing. A time to tear down and a time to build up. A time to weep, a time to laugh. A time to wail and a time to dance. A time to throw stones and a time for gathering them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain. There is a time for seeking and a time for losing. A time to keep and a time to discard. A time to tear and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. Adonai roi lo exar bino desha yarbitseni al mei menuchot yenahaleni nafshi shovev. Yancheni b'maglei tzedek b'ma'an shemo gam ki elech b'geit sal mavet lo irara ki ata imadi. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. We do come together now to mourn the passing of Harvey Savitch. He meant so much to so many, and he will be missed. We will miss him. His kindness, his gentleness, his loyalty. He was a good soul. A special soul. To Barbara, who he married when he was 21, she was 20. You were 20. Know that we are here for you today and all days. From those days so long ago now when you and he connected at Butler Lodge in the Catskills, where he was working and you would hang around so much that he called you a nag. I'm just repeating what I was told. To your many chapters and changes and challenges that you always met together. Ohio, Maryland, Illinois, you became parents, grandparents, you established a life together, not only for yourselves but for your family, right there on Bryan Drive. And through it all, you were together. You were one. You were always one. And maybe you can still picture your wedding day at the Bensonhurst Auditorium in Brooklyn on that stormy day, which set in motion so much and allowed for such future joy for both of you. Today, we thank God for that joy, for all the joy he had in his life, all the meaning, all the love. He was a good dad. He was the best dad. He was the fixer, Mr. Fix. For you, Jill, and Heidi, and Eric, he was present and generous and ready to be there with you and for you whenever and wherever you needed. And the same can be said for who he was as a father-in-law to Rich, to Rick, to Beth, who you are as human beings today, what you stand for, the goodness you carry within you comes in so many ways right from Harvey, your beloved father and father-in-law. And as a grandfather, he was so fun So eager to watch you, drive you, help you, laugh with you. Marley, Ryan, and Ben, I know you'll carry your treasured memories of Harvey with you always. That those many memories will lift you up and carry you forward and put a balm on your aching heart today and forever. Judaism teaches us that today is an end, but not the end. Harvey's soul, his neshama, will live on in us, in you. In the lives that he touched over the course of his 84 years. He would have been 85 at the end of this month. His soul lives on in our words, in our choices, in who we choose to be every day. In all of these ways, we will carry him with us. The fact that he lived without regret. The fact that he so loved to barbecue. That he loved his Yankees and Giants. We're not going to hold it against him. How welcoming and big-hearted he was. How devoted he always was to his precious family. We'll carry all of it with us now, and we'll carry it as an abiding and sacred blessing. Zichrono livracha, may his memory always be for a blessing, and may he rest now in peace, and together we can say, Amen. We'll hear now some words of remembrance from Beth and from Marley.
Thank you, Reverend David. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here to support our family. I will be sharing my thoughts, and then I'll be speaking for Jill, Heidi, and Eric as well. Marley, Harvey's loving granddaughter, will continue when I'm finished. And when we have said our final words, I hope each of you understands how much this wonderful man was adored and what he meant to each of us. When I first met Harvey and Barbara, we went to Ponzio's for dinner. For those of you that are unfamiliar with our story, Eric and I met and our relationship moved very quickly, so this was a high-stakes meeting for me. However, my only memory from that night, 28 years ago, was Harvey keeping his head down, inhaling his food, and really not saying a word. I had no way of knowing on that night that I would grow to love and adore this man as if he was my own father. And yes, his dinner behavior was part of his charm for as long as I have known him. I lived with Barbara and Harvey for a time before Eric and I got married. They opened their home to me, a stranger really, with no hesitation, and it gave me a unique opportunity to get to know them and love them quickly. I'd say the feelings were mutual, but Dad wasn't happy about my excessive use of Kleenex. I had to hide my tissues after Dad collected the trash for the week. Harvey loved taking out the trash. After the official trash collection, I would hide my tissues from the night before and flush them down the toilet. And from the very beginning, I never wanted to disappoint this man. When I lost my own father, my relationship with Harvey became even more important. Although there were no words between us about it, he knew that I was going to be his fierce advocate, overly protective, and always welcome to him to our home with a meal that he would love. Harvey made this easy for me because he treated me like a daughter with no bloodlines blurring our relationship. The same can be said for my brother-in-laws, a group we affectionately call the Outlaws. Harvey and Barbara had a great relationship with my own parents, too. They even stayed at my mom's house when they went to Florida in the winter. Who in this room can say that about their blended family? Probably not many people here. Family get-togethers always revolve around food with the Savitches, and in his heyday, Harvey could grill like no other. He loved preparing food, took immense pride in his culinary skills that he learned as a reservist and cook in the Army, and always reminded me that he was the master of the coals. Challenge accepted. Making Hanukkah potato latkes with Dad, wearing his latke sweatshirt, was something we all look forward to every year. Dad was mostly a silent participant during family gatherings. First of all, our chatty, loud family never let him get a word in, but it really didn't matter. Harvey heard everything we said. He listened intently and glowed with pride at our being together. And as you may know or as you have heard, Dad was a man of few words. However, there are numerous words I can use to describe my dear father-in-law. Gentle, kind, loving, accepting, devoted, principled, honest, methodical, even quirky. Handsome, calm, respected, and loved by all who knew him. He was absolutely adorable, and when anyone made him laugh, especially Eric, he had a smile that could light up a room. He embodied all the qualities to make him a true gentleman. When anyone came into the house, Harvey received a kiss on the head. Even his grandchildren quickly embraced the routine. Of course, Harvey was a proud grandpa because his 3 grandkids brought him such joy. Dad watched Marley swim whenever he had an opportunity. He talked endlessly with Ryan about the New York Yankees they both love, most times. There was a special connection between him and Ben, maybe because Ben looked so much like Harvey as a young man and inherited his gentle soul. But what was amazing to watch was how caring each of them was with Harvey. He brought a certain warmth and sweetness out of them, and their relationship with him made us all proud. They cared deeply for him. He was the perfect role model and shaped their lives as they grew. In our family, when the kids were young, Grandma Barbara was the light of their eyes. But when I went back to work when my boys were very young, Harvey took care of them for us. Barbara was still working, so Dad would be with the kids by himself during the day. To this day, we talk about Dad's pride in being able to change Ben's diapers, because before that time, it would have been an unimaginable task for him. But that was Dad, anything for family. And it's funny because anytime Barbara and Harvey came into a room when the kids were young, Marley and Ryan would make a beeline to Grandma, but Ben would rush past them to see his grandpa. This is one of my favorite things Harvey ever did. When I gave birth to Ryan, Harvey walked into the room and said thank you to me. I tried to remind him from a genetic standpoint, Eric provided the decision-making chromosome. But he thanked me nonetheless for giving him a boy to carry on the Savitch name. Jill had given him a treasured, exceptional granddaughter, and so a boy was the perfect complement to our family. And lucky for Harvey, Ben provided extra security that the name would live on forever. I don't know when it started, but when I walked into a room, I always said, "How's my favorite father-in-law?" implying there was another one to choose from. But there could never be another one for me. I love this man deeply. And what I am most thankful for is the honor of being Harvey's favorite and only daughter-in-law. And I'm grateful for the role he played in contributing his greatest attributes to the warm, loving, amazing men in my life, Eric, Ryan, and Ben. Now I'm going to speak on Heidi's behalf. Harvey was 84 and 348 days old. Heidi wants you to know that the loving relationship between Barbara and Harvey is something we should all hope for in our lives. 63 years of marriage, and they spent those years doing everything together. They were each other's hobby, each other's best friends. They are Heidi's best friends. Family was everything to her daddy, and it was truly the motivating force in how Harvey lived his life. He was unique in his devotion to his parents, his sister, his children, his grandkids, and to Mom. He never, ever wavered. He was a man of simple pleasures, was the first one there if you needed him, and he and Mom never said an unkind word to each other. Dad was a patient man and content with the life he led until he got sick. Dad was a rare, special person and had the unfortunate circumstance of getting a rare, aggressive form of cancer that would ultimately take his life. All Dad asked was that he not be in pain. And he had been in pain for so long from other ailments, and he was truly suffering. Mom took care of him every minute of every day and endlessly tried to bring him comfort. And above all else, she did everything to keep him home and maintain his dignity. Heidi is in awe of her sister Jill for the loving, unselfish attention she provided as a daughter and the compassionate, unyielding personal care she provided to their dad under the worst of circumstances. Heidi moved in with Mom and Dad to keep Mom company throughout the night. I was responsible for doctor visits and sharing of information with the family. And Heidi wants you to know that the family lovingly called me Nurse Ratchet because I am so mean. But everyone knows I did it from my heart, with Harvey's best interest always driving my actions. Rick was always there to support Heidi, even from afar, and he has been her rock. As the end approached and more help was needed, Rick stepped in and became an invaluable member of the Savitch care team. Heidi knows Eric is a stabilizing force in our family now, and this brings her comfort, as does making everyone laugh to give us a break from the immense sadness we feel. And this is from Jill. Jill cannot remember when or why, but many years ago she wrote a note to Dad that he kept and she just found. She asked me to share it with you, but know this is just a small representation of Jill's love for Dad. I watched Jill care for him over the past few weeks, and I don't have adequate words to describe her devotion and the soft-spoken, gentle way she cared for her father's every need. Forgive me. We all love you, Jill, for giving yourself to Dad that way and bringing him all of the comfort that you did. And Jill wrote, Dad, I wanted to let you know that I believe you are the truly the kindest soul. You've been taking care of Mom and showing how much you love her, and I am proud to be your daughter. No matter what happens in our lives, you are always there to lend a hand and be there, although you may not talk. Thanks for always being in my corner. I hope that I've modeled myself after you and will strive to be the person you are. Mom is lucky to have you, and so am I. And she signed it Jutski, which was her endearing way of signing her notes to Dad. And now for my husband, Eric. as Eric struggles to communicate what his father meant to him. He wanted to be sure to share with everybody how he became the man he is today because of his dad. What was paramount to Dad was family over everything else. Starting with his own family, Eric is comforted by knowing Harvey joined his parents and his sister Iris, pain-free and in peace. Harvey's love of his mother, father, and sister was of utmost importance to him. Harvey loved our family. Spending time with us was the most important thing to him, and he was hated when there was any conflict between us, which luckily was rare, for fear of the family unit not being whole. As a father, brother, spouse, and son, Eric realizes how his father's treatment of others shaped him, and he has tried to follow in his father's footsteps. The people who know Eric best know that he loves me, Ryan, and Ben unconditionally, the same way Dad loved us all. Eric wants our two boys to share Harvey's love of family, and our actions as their parents have always encouraged these relationships. Eric's mom and dad provided an extraordinary foundation for our loving family. Eric's love of his sisters is strong, and he's not saying they don't fight like any other siblings, but his joy and the unconditional love he shows is because he is patient, accepting of differences, and respectful of others, just like his dad. Eric's closest friends and family know he loves to talk, and he's willing to talk your ear off, but that is not something he inherited from Harvey. The gift of gab he got from his mom. The love and respect that Dad bestowed upon Mom is something Eric cherishes, and he has acted in kind. Eric wants you all to know Dad's love for me, Rick, and Rich, the Outlaws, was absolute, and we became part of the family with no conditions. As a group, the original Savitch Five could be a bit overwhelming due to their closeness, but we quickly became loving members of the clan. For as long as he can remember, anytime Eric saw or spoke to his dad, Harvey would always ask, "How are the boys?" Always the first thing he wanted to know. Eric would lovingly say the boys were bad boys, which a lot of you know in here is true. But lately, he teased Dad that he was a bad boy too because Harvey was not always compliant with doctor and family orders. Towards the end, when Dad was sitting in his recliner, they greeted each other the same way, but it was now accompanied by a rub of Dad's head. For some reason, we were all focused on rubbing Dad's head. I guess we thought it conveyed our love and our need to comfort him and ourselves. And lastly, Eric and I were with Dad when he passed peacefully in hospice. Throughout the night, we held his hand and kept rubbing Dad's head and talking to him softly. Eric assured Dad that he would always take care of his girls, Barbara, Heidi, and Jill. We dozed off for a bit, even though we tried so hard not to. And during that short time, Dad decided to pass on. The hospice nurse told us he needed us to sleep so he could quietly let go. Our hearts are broken, but we are forever grateful for having Harvey in our lives. And now Jill's daughter, Marley, Harvey's wonderful granddaughter, is going to share her thoughts. Thank you, Ellie.
Many of you eulogy for your grandfather is, it's not easy, but I'm really fortunate. I have Ryan and Ben to help me. This is on behalf of all of us. There's a lot of family lore surrounding Harv. A lot, for someone so quiet. The whale watch, diaper duty, the blueberry hand pie, and my favorite. That summer he was lifeguarding, and this little lady started relentlessly nagging him. And well, here we are. Grandpa was a subtle man. Someone called him quiet, but I never felt he was quiet, just subtle. You mentioned a topic that he loved, and he could talk for hours. Well, 8 minutes, but that was Grandpa. He'd give you that one look or kind of grunt that would tell you what you needed to know. I think all of us grandkids have been at the dinner table just being hawked at, only to catch Grandpa's eye. He'd give you this little wink, eye roll, and head shake, and he didn't have to say anything. That gesture said it all. He was on our team. Ryan, Ben, and I were, and are, very lucky to have had Grandpa in our lives. He was a proud grandpa, always ready to make a pineapple boat or fire up the grill to celebrate us. Though Grandma was the main phone answerer, Grandpa always knew what was going on in our lives and what we were up to. He'd tell me about Ryan and Michigan football, and Ben and his BBYO conferences and some girlfriends. And even after I graduated, he'd keep me very updated about both the East and Harvard swim teams. He was proud, really proud. Watching Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune on the couch with Grandma and Grandpa was a rite of passage. Whenever we knew an answer, Grandpa would look over and be pretty impressed, especially when Ben got one. He loved watching TV with Ben. Ryan and Grandpa bonded over the Yankees. Ryan is a Yankees fan because of Grandpa. Even though Harv called the team the Bums, they won with a walk-off hit on Friday during their home opener. They did that for Grandpa. Their house was our house. None of us had keys, but the door never had to be opened for us. We could just walk in, give Grandpa a kiss on the head, plop on the couch. There was no formality. There was only love. And we know that because we felt it. And because of how our parents parented us. Grandpa taught his children how to be the best parents they could be. We should be so lucky. The kitchen was always a special place for us grandkids. When we got to have a Bialy and decaf Lipton tea with Grandpa for breakfast, it was a good day. When the latkes were sizzling and the whole house reeked of oil, it was even better. Especially because we got to make the latkes with Grandpa, and he'd tell us if we were doing it even a little wrong. The dining room was where Grandpa was in charge. He sat at the head of the table, and he did not get up. He led Seder, all 30 minutes of it, sorry, Rabbi. And he would then make his way to the white couches where we would all come surround him, squashing his hope for just a little peace and quiet. It's the little things that made it all so special. Grandpa was a man of few words. But he never skipped on "love you, baby." What I'd give to hear that one more time. Hell, I'd even love to hear the rustle of the trash bag as he followed you around the house with it on trash night. No loose wrappers. My mom and I lived with Grandma and Grandpa for 6 years. It wasn't the easiest. I wasn't the easiest. Suddenly, Grandpa had a gremlin poodle he did not like who tried to steal his ice cream and his wife. I'm really grateful I had those years, though. How special that I got to have dinner with my grandparents so regularly. How special I got to spend that much time with them. I learned a lot from Grandpa. I'm so proud to be his granddaughter, and I am so proud and grateful that I got to share him with Ryan and Ben. We'll carry our Grandpa with us always. We'll think of him every time we do laundry, every time we take the trash out, when we eat some pineapple. We'll think of him a lot. We all will.
Who could argue with a 30-minute Seder? A few reminders before we continue and move to our conclusion. Shiva will take place at 529 Bryan Drive tonight from 5 to 8, and tomorrow from 6 to 8:30. There will be a minyan both nights at 7 o'clock. Donations in Harvey's memory can be made to Samaritan Hospice Healthcare. God heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. God reckons the number of stars, giving each one its name. Great and full of power is God, whose wisdom is beyond reckoning. God gives courage to the lowly and brings hope to the bereft. So may God always be with all of us. We will now rise together for our benediction, El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim Shochin Bamromim. Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina. Kidoshim Toarim Kizar Rakia Mashirim. Et Nishmat Chanan Leib Ben Eliyahu Vibracha. Shalach Lo Lamo. Bala Rachamim Yastirei B'Seiter Knafav Lo Lamim. Bitur Bitur Chaim Et Nishmat To Adonai Hu Nachalato V'Yanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkavo. V'Nomar Amen. O God of abundant mercy, God Most High, may the soul of our loved one who has gone into eternity find the gift of perfect peace in your embrace, along with the holy and the pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold him close to you forever, so that his soul may be bound up in the bond of eternal life. May he find a home with you. May he rest in peace. And together we can all say, Amen. Amen. You may be seated.
Any pallbearers, please step to the center aisle. And I'll ask if we can rise once more, please. You may be seated, please.